Hello, welcome. I'm going to do a series on wicked greens and popular pinks, so you guys know kind of what kind of colors work with what and how to mix your greens. I get that question a lot, and there's really kind of a simple answer, and it starts with a pure pigment. Veridian is about the purest green you're going to get from nature. However, it doesn't look very natural on paper, so you have to mix it with either yellows, and then we're going to try 3 different reds with the greens and see what we come up with. Now you might be saying, you got the wrong primary colors here. That's kind of true. I know that yellow and blue make green, but there's more. Veridian has half yellow and half blue, but if you add more blue, it's going to look grayed out a bit more. And so if you add yellow, you get more of that warmth and that spring green, that summer green that you're looking for. And so that's why I have just a permanent yellow, a cad yellow, or a lemon yellow. Just a cool-ish yellow will work. And then, because that's going to be really bright, we had to dull it down with a red. And so I have 3 different reds. I have a permanent red deep, I have a red orange, which is more like a cadmium red, and this is like an alizarin red, and then I have what I would call like an Indian red, like a neutral, almost deeper red with a little bit of orange in it. And so we're just going to play around. I got my Color Journey notebook out, and we're just going to have fun. I did decide to use my Mission Watercolor because I absolutely love Mission Watercolor, and I thought enough of you guys wanted to see how Mission Watercolor worked, so I thought, what a perfect time to do Mission Watercolor. And so come along with me. It's going to be so much fun. And get your Veridian colors out. If you don't have Mission Watercolor, that's quite alright. You can mix any Veridian green with any of the cool-ish yellows. So a lemon yellow or a cad yellow. A Windsor lemon yellow would work. There's lots of different yellows. Like, you just want it to be cool. A Cerulean yellow, or even like any kind of cadmium yellow would work. And then you just want a cool red, like an alizarin crimson or a rose. And then you want a warm red, like a cad red. Scarlet Lake would also work. And then like a neutral red. So I chose like an Indian red. This one is called Autumn Orange, which is a more neutral red. So let's have some fun playing with paint. Alright, I got a couple brushes, and I got my micron pen so I can mark my different mixes so I know. You just want some brushes and I like to have a couple, so if I have just green on my brush, I'm not wasting the green. But let's get started. I'm going to start with Veridian. And look at how beautiful that green is. I just love it. I actually mix this green a lot with purple to get a darker background. But here is just Veridian, and it is just a lovely green. And what I'm going to go in, and I'm going to do this with most of the yellow, with the greens, is then I'm going to take in my yellow, and I'm just going to dab that right into here. I'm going to let the yellow kind of flow a little bit. I do want a little bit of that yellow to go in, but there we go. And then this is where I like to bring my extra clean brush. And I'm going to start with this is the Permanent Red Deep. Permanent Red Deep. And I'm just going to put that right in here. That way I can kind of get an idea of what it's going to do. And then I'm just going to move it along just so I can see what it does on the paper. And you can tell, look at how much different greens I get just from that one, just from those 3. I'll do that again so you can see. So I have a lot of yellow on my brush. I'm just going to get that off. Clean it off. Add some more of this beautiful. I want it to be fluid. I'm going to add some of the Veridian. right on top of the yellow. I'll leave a little bit of yellow so it'll just mixes. And then I'm going to add this red. And I don't want to add too much, and I think I added too much water to start with, so that might, but there's that darker green, and it really works. And so I recommend playing with your colors. I'm going to not add so much, but I'm going to get that red into that green. I do like mixing my watercolor on the paper. You can kind of see how deep and dark it gets just from adding that red, whereas if I just added a little bit of the if I just used the green, it wouldn't be as pretty, it wouldn't be as vibrant. That's really pretty. So then I might just say, with P yellow and Perm Red Deep. Now the next one is going to be Permanent Yellow and I did red orange. You might wonder why I didn't mix it on the palette first, and I will show you that in just a second, but I believe you should be able to see almost my whole palette, my whole setup. Okay, so if I were to mix these two together, which I definitely could, let's just do that real quick. I'm going to need a lot more green. So there's my green. Here's my yellow. Ooh, perfect. See how springy green that is? That is just really springy green. But you don't get this beautiful variation like I would have gotten. And so that's why I like to mix it on the paper. And then I can just come in here. Here's my Cad Red. It's looking very orangey to me, but I just don't get the variation like I wanted it. So I'm going to go back in and just do my green. When we let the pigment mix on the paper, you get such a much beautiful look to it. Now there are some times when I just want a convenience color, and so I won't necessarily make it mix, but look, I could never have done that if I just mixed my colors together. And now this might be just a little Cad Red and orange, like the Cad Red orange color. I really have to be in the right mood for it, so I don't not love it, I just don't love it. I do love the Veridian and just the red, so maybe I'll try that. The Veridian and the Cad Red. Sometimes you realize what you like just by playing. So let's just add, this is going to get really dark, I think. It's going to look really pretty. Yeah, it gives it a much richer texture. Like, that is really gorgeous. It really toned it down almost to a brown. That's really lovely. Okay, and now we have one more. Let's do Veridian. So this is Veridian with Permanent Yellow. Yellow and Autumn Orange. Okay. Let's get this beautiful Veridian color happening. And then I'm going to show you an exercise that has really helped me get some beautiful greens that I think makes for a fun background. Oh, see how pretty that gets when you mix it on the paper. So fun. All right, and then I'm just gonna add in a little bit more of this green so it will move around. Maybe some more of this yellow. This is gonna look more rust. And there you see we got some really pretty greens happening in that one too. Let's do one more. Let's do just the green. We'll do just Veridian. And then this is the orange. And I'm just going to let it flow a little bit. Let's see what happens. Oh, that's really pretty. That reminds me of, I don't know, something that you would see in nature. I love that. Almost like a tree and some leaves or something. Yeah, that is really pretty. And it does look a little bit darker, but that is really pretty. Yeah, you can see the variation of that orangey red. Oh, so pretty. And then this is probably more of a brown. If I added more green, it wouldn't be so dark. But look how darks you can get. Look how light to dark you can get just with simple colors, just with a couple colors. So that is how I like to mix greens. I found that resource right in the book called Making Colors Sing. And she goes, it's like in the beginning of the book too, and she says, all right, so now that we did permanent yellow, now you can try a different Veridian green with a different yellow. So this is Cerulean yellow, or like a lemon yellow. And so you can get so many different variations of green just by adding a couple of different reds just to see what happens. And so I recommend trying your greens. Most greens are sap green, Veridian green, like yellow and blue make green. That's going to be your base, and then you can add your reds to tone it down so it looks more natural. And so that is how I recommend mixing greens. And the book is Making Colors Sing, Practical Lessons in Color and Design by Doobie. Okay, so a fun exercise that I sort of already started because I thought I was recording is I'm just going to take the greens that are already on my plate. I've used some of the red, like the Alliziran and the Cad Red and the Indian Red, and I have like this whole palette of fun greens to just work from. And what I'm doing is I'm adding like sporadic lines all over, and there's no wrong way and there's no right way. My only rule that I have for all of this is that I just don't want to have any white paper at the end, which is really fun. And so you'll just see I started like in a triangle. Like I started with a stroke here, and a stroke here, and then I'm just adding on, and I'm making sure that my darks and my lights kind of all mix together. And if there's something that's really bright or really muted, I make sure that I put a bright next to a mute so that there's a whole lot of variation. And you'll find that once this is all done, it really is a beautiful piece of artwork. And people will think, oh my gosh, how beautiful and how abstract. And that's what we want. Or that's what I want anyways. I want people to enjoy painting. I was reminded that I didn't actually put very much just Veridian down. So sometimes, as much as it's fun to have all the different colors out, I also enjoy mixing just Veridian. And you might even find that even the colors that you're like, okay, I'm not really fond of, once you put it next to some of the other greens, you're like, oh, that's actually really kind of pretty. Because we're using mutes with brights, and that changes everything. And I'm going to need some more yellow, but I still have paint on my brush. But I'm going to add a little bit more yellow to all of this. Just a little bit goes a long way. This is such a fun exercise. I actually do this as a mindfulness exercise. And I'm okay with going with straight yellow. I don't want to do it a lot, but little bits will go a long way. And just kind of like incorporates everything. And now I'm going to go in with this beautiful Veridian. I'm going to add some more of that darker Alliziran red. And I'm just going to bring some of that down. This looks like a hot mess, so we're just going to bring that all the way down as if it was meant to happen. I'm probably going to have to add and there's no, like, this is just supposed to be fun. No stress. We're not thinking about it too much. Maybe that's too much of a line. We're probably going to have to equal that out a little bit. But that yellow sure gives it a nice pop. I really like that yellow. I'm curious if you've tried something like this. And did you enjoy it? I'm going to clean my brush. It's just looking muddy. I'm not getting the variation that I want. And so with this, I'm just going to add this beautiful yellow, and I'm going to go right on down. So it almost looks like it was meant to do that. This one is really pretty. I'm going to just continue that as well. There's lots of ways that you can really learn how to play with your colors. This is just one of many ways. Here's a really interesting green. We'll put that there. Put that there. Oh, so pretty. I could see this being like really pretty fabric. I'm okay with that looking brown. Maybe I'll add a little bit more green just to tone down that brown, or brighten up that brown, I guess is more accurately to say. And I'll have to add a little bit of that brownish green over there. It's looking about done. And then wherever I have white spots, I'm just going to fill that in with like either a neutral color or a bright color, depending on how I feel at the time. So I think we're about there. So I'm going to go ahead and take whatever's left on my palette. I'm just going to fill that in, not quickly, but I'm not dilly-dallying either. I feel like when you can just add like a simple-ish background to all of it, it just adds. And again, everyone can watercolor, everyone can paint. Look at that. That is gorgeous. That is so pretty. And all I did was just use the water, the color that was already left. And I can always add more. That looks like it needed something. And now I'm wondering if I need more of a yellow green, just to brighten up some of the spots. I can glaze over this just to give it more of a cohesive look, which is really what I'm doing right now. I don't want to go overboard, but I see a couple places where I think, I need something. There. And then of course, you can splatter if you want. I'm going to just take some of this green that's right here on my palette and just splatter. And now what I want to do is, it's going to be a background, I can just splatter with water and really let it just have a whole lot of texture. And water's going to go where water is, so I won't get a whole bunch, but yeah. So fun. Okay, so there we go. There is a very fun technique on how to use the greens that we just played with. Once that background is dry, I put white cardstock in my Misty and I stamped all the places you'll go, and I'm going to put that on the top of the panel for a graduation card, and there's the finished product. If you found this tutorial to be at all interesting, please give it a big thumbs up. I sure appreciate your support, and subscribe to my channel where I release new content every Thursday. Thanks for watching and have fun painting.